Can you guys hear me now? Testing, testing. Can you hear me now? Testing, testing. Can you hear me now? Look. Okay, well, that's super irritating. I was just talking to myself, and none of you guys were listening. So, I'm going to have to start all the way over on that one. Yeah, my mic was showing that it was on, but the program that I'm using to record didn't have it registered as being what I was using for my microphone. So, let's start all over. Welcome to Ion Radio. I'm John. This is the Backseat Admiral, and today we're going to be covering our season 6, episode 5, and happy 4th of July for those in the United States. Life's been pretty busy, so thankfully I have today off that I'm able to talk with you guys. So welcome Wheels, welcome James, welcome Nidprin to the chat. So if you guys have any thoughts or comments about the fleets or anything like that, or you want to talk about anything, hit me up in the chat and I will talk to you guys about that. So today we're going to be talking about halfway through now season 6, and we have the match. It is Piet versus Admiral Kraken. So what I've been saying is that this is a Piet list with no fighters against a Kraken list with no fighters, and I've played against Kraken a lot. So Ken really likes using Kraken, and I've played against Kraken a lot in like different tournaments because it's like one of the main MSU type commanders because of the obstruction, helps keep small ships alive. So when I was going about making the fleet, I just wanted to have a bunch of small ships that could go fast and could benefit from Kraken to help them stay alive. So let's go ahead and start looking at it. So I have an assault frigate Mark II-A. It has General Kraken. I have Caitlin and Sholin on there just to reroll the red dice. And then I have electronic countermeasures. And electronic countermeasures is there because it's going to allow me to use one of my tokens, whichever I need to at the time, being to keep my ship alive. The dice are going to be reduced when they come in due to Kraken's ability to cancel it. This ship's still pretty maneuverable for a speed 3 ship. And then I have linked turbo laser towers to re-roll as well. I'm really counting on the fact that red dice aren't going to come up as anything, and I'm going to need multiple re-rolls for that. But that's no big surprise. So I kept it pretty lean, which then my second ship is an MC-30 torpedo frigate. It is Ordnance Experts, external racks, H9 turbo lasers, and Foresight. And Foresight allows you to affect additional dice with the evade and an additional like hull zone with the redirect. So with Kraken, you're reducing the amount of damage that comes through, and then your evades are super powerful at long range. And then if you take any damage, you can shove it all over the place. It has Ordnance Experts for rerolls, external racks for adding more black dice in with Ordnance Experts. And then it has H9 turbo laser towers, so you can guarantee, if you're at blue range, that one of your dice will be an accuracy, or multiple accuracies if you already had an accuracy with the blue dice. It's just a guaranteed good way to kill off ships. Tokens, like if you roll up against a like a Gazanti or a transport, like it's an automatic block the scatter, and then whatever damage you roll with your black dice goes through because they won't be able to do anything about it. And I like that combo. Like Kraken keeps you alive as you're coming in, hit something hard, and then you just peace out with the ship. So I have the exact same copy again of the ship, but with the Admo title instead. same basic concept. Admo's not as good as Foresight because getting rid of 1 dice when you're got like 8 dice coming in at you, I don't feel is as good because you have to chuck a readied defense token. So there's that's more difficult to do. Then we have a CR90A with turbo laser reroute circuits and Jaina's Light. This is just your classic CR90. It goes fast, it hits hard, you can't make it obstruct, but all the shots against it with Kraken are obstructed, so hopefully you have a better chance of staying alive. Then we have 2 ships, the GR-75 medium transport with Bright Hope, and then one without it. And that's kind of it. Like, kind of light on upgrades, but there's some key upgrades on every single ship that are useful. And then the plan is just to use, like, Kraken speed to fly in and get whatever cards off, like external racks or my TRCs off, and then be able to fly away at full speed and survive. So that was kind of it for the plan with that ship. So let's jump over now and check out Ken's fleet. Ken has a Piat fleet, and Piat is on an interdictor suppressor refit. I like Piat on the ship specifically because of the interdictor title, which my camera's covering up, but the interdictor title allows you when another ship, your friendly ship or an opponent ship, any ship, activates, you can exhaust interdictor to unexhaust one of the cards on your ship. So if you don't go first with, actually it doesn't really matter. So Piat allows you to use Piat, exhaust him. Interdictor says, hey, unexhaust Piat, so then you get 2 uses of Piat every single turn. And Piat allows you to spend a token and then resolve that as if you're doing the command dial. So you can supercharge your ship's abilities to do different things with tokens, and you can do it twice then per turn with him. Paired with Commander Vanto, so then you get a token after you do a command, so you just do your command that you're normally going to do, engineering because you're an interdictor, and then Vanto takes whatever type of token that you want. Then you could take a Confire, you could take a Squadron, or you could take a Navigate and then use Piat, and you could make that token into a dial. So you can do that, and that's pretty good because then you basically are 2 commands every single turn with this combination. Then you have disposable capacitors to shoot your blue dice at long range. Gravity Well, which is the set everything to speed 0, which we'll get into when we actually see how the game played out. And then Targeting Scrambler, which is a very good defensive card to keep ships alive, yourself and others, which also then links up with the interdictor title. So if you don't want to use Piat twice in a turn, you can just use Targeting Scramblers, and Targeting Scramblers allows you to reroll 4 dice at close range twice. So this is also technically, I feel like, light on upgrades, because like you would see a lot of times, no, actually all the slots are pretty much filled. There's no Ions card, so I guess technically it's light because a lot of times you'll see like an Ion card on the ship as well. Okay, then the next ship is a mean Gladiator. This Gladiator one has the Emperor on it, so if you shoot at it, you have to, before doing the attack, exhaust one of your, or spend one of your defense tokens. Ordnance Experts for re-rolling black dice. Engine Techs for going fast. Both of our fleets kind of want to go fast. And then Assault Proton Torpedoes for those black dice. Here's an automatic crit, which really, really hurts, especially against small ships if you're able to get it off, because that's just damage straight to the hull. And like my fleet, most of my ships only have like 3-4 health. And then like, oh, my big ship has 6 health. So like, that's not a lot of hull damage that I have to play with. And just getting one of those onto me is like significant. And then the Demolisher title so that you can attack after you've moved. Then he has 2 Architens, and this is the Architen that Ken is trialing out this season. He's talked about how he wants to make like a standard ship loadout and then just try it over the course of episodes. I think he's already used these Architens in another match earlier this season, but I don't recall which one. But it's 2 upgrades on it, and it's an advanced projector, so it can use all of its shields with its 2 redirects and shields all over. And then slave turret, so add a red dice into it, but you only get 1 attack. So doesn't mean you can't really do double arcs, which Architens don't necessarily do well. They can't do an Akbar slash, but you power up whatever you're shooting at pretty well. Then you got a Gazanti with Comsnet, 2 of them. So both of our fleets are kind of actually structured the same way. If you look at it, we have 1 ship in the middle, both medium, to anchor it down. So in my case, it's the assault frigate. In Ken's case, it is the interdictor. I have 2 brawlers. Those are my MC-30s. He has demo, which demo's demo. And then I have 1 like flanker, which is my CR-90, while Ken has 2 flankers with his Architens. Then we both have 2 like transports to feed ourselves tokens to make sure our ships can do what they need to do. Ken's Comsnet have more ability to do what they need to because they can pass a token, and then Piet can immediately use that token on 2 of his ships per turn. So let's say if the Architens were the only things in range, he could pass to the Architens navigates, and then with Piet he could do concentrate fire and then turn those navigates into the nav dial. So then he's getting a con fire and a navigate for both of his Architens, or he could do the same basic idea with the Gladiator. So there's a lot of flexibility in this fleet for using Piet and dials to maximize what you can do and get into a good position. Then that's it for the fleets. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts on the fleets, let me know in the comments and we'll talk about that. And then we'll get ready to talk about how the game itself went in the objectives and things like that. I believe, do we have this? Yes, Ken had the bid in this game. He had 399 to my 400, and he chose to go as first player, so then he got to choose from my objectives, and that worked out for me because my objectives make it like an MSU fleet do what it wants to do, right? Or was I first? I don't even remember. Give me a second while I check. But if there isn't any questions, then I will just be continuing right along with it. Yeah, I honestly don't remember who went first. And I have to pull up my files to check. Yeah, Ken was first player. I was right. So he got to pick objectives. So let's talk about what my objectives are. So I have most wanted and fleet and bean and volatile deposits. So most wanted for me, I just stick it on a flotilla and then I get to shoot one of your ships even better. And that's why red dice with my CR-90 and the assault frigate, and then I get to throw in more black dice or blue dice with my MC-30s. So if you have a big ship, I should be able to kill it off with that. Then I have Fleet and Bean, which we'll get back to in just a second. But we actually just recently were talking about this a lot on our latest command stack, because a lot of the fleets that were at the Stampede Open had Fleet and Bean, and it's one of my favorite objectives as second player. Especially if you want to go in there and brawl and fight, it's very good. Then we have Volatile Deposits, which is you can basically sit behind things. You have special crits that you can do, and if you're around the asteroids, then you get a point. And this is a fun objective because I can just stick my transports because I don't necessarily need them in the back and just collect tokens. And then what it's not good against, though, is a fleet that has an interdictor that can move them. Thankfully for me, Ken only had the drop to speed 0 part of the interdictor and not the I'll move all the obstacles away from you, so then you're not in a good position. If he did have that ability, I 100% think that Ken would have chosen Volatile Deposits. What's also nice about the MC30s is if they do choose Volatile Deposits, like speed 4 across the table to whatever's sitting on their asteroid, with the H9s should be able to kill like a transport or a Gazanti off of that type of obstacle right away, which is very good because it's dead and then you can claim theirs. So that's that. So let's look at how we deployed. And I deployed terribly. It was one of those things that I had an idea in my head of how I wanted to go about doing it, and then completely forgot about the fact that we were playing Fleet and Bean. And Ken dropped this speed 0 right down in the middle. And I didn't necessarily want all my ships clumped up because I have a lot of ships. I have 6 ships. That's a lot to try to make fit all here. And I didn't necessarily want to have them all being in a brawl all at the same time, because then it clumps and it doesn't allow me the advantage of using a transport to necessarily delay, because if all my ships are in a brawl, I'm going to be taking fire. I don't have a delay point. I don't have a pinpoint. I can't really flank with it. So what I went with was transport spread out so they could swing behind my ships. That was kind of my idea. And then I have my CR90 here to flank and come through and give supporting fire behind my ships. I have my assault frigate that I want to kind of plant in the middle of the table, and hopefully Kraken does his stuff with Fleet and Bean, allowing me to refresh my tokens, and then I can stay alive. And if you look at Ken's ships, he has Architens, which are red dice, so you could get an accuracy, but they're going to be obstructed. So 2 dice plus slave turrets, 3 plus confire, 4 dice. 4 dice is powerful, but it doesn't have a reroll. So I'm just praying on the fact that he doesn't get accuracies, so I can use my tokens and then use Fleet and Bean to re-ready those tokens when the next attack's done against me, so I don't have to worry about using ECM. And then he has his interdictor, which is mainly blue dice, so against that attack, I assume that I won't be able to use a token, your brace, because of ECM, because of blue dice getting accuracies. But then at the same time, it's obstructed, so it won't be as much damage as the potential for all the red dice attacks. And then the Gladiator, it's all black dice, so I'm not really that worried. I'll just try to use my evade to get rid of the doubles to stay alive. That's kind of my point. I'm in my head, I'm going to try to drop it in and be a pinpoint so my other ships can do what they need to. And then I have my MC30s off to the side, so hopefully if I need to, I can tuck them across the table. And Ken kind of had the same basic idea. It's kind of funny how we both set up with the basic idea of to do the same thing. His interdictor come into the middle of this battle area right here, be a focal point for demo, which is going to come in and brawl, and the Architens that are going to just go around the table and just flank and shoot into it. So that's our setup, but we both kind of forgot with our smaller ships that Fleet and Bean, you had to be 3 away from the edge at the end of turn 1. So there is physically no way for me to get these 3 ships across there with how I deployed. And it was one of those things, like, turn 1 started, I'm like, oh, Fleet and Bean. Right. That's the one I don't want to be away from the edge. So it's kind of annoying to do that, but it happens. But at least I guess I was going with what my plan is. I blame it on the speed 0 because I really wanted these ships more right where that bubble is, but Kraken means I need to be going speed 3, and it would take me too many turns to ramp my ships up to speed 3 if I'm in a speed 0 bubble. Fleet and Bean's one of those things that if your ship at the end of the game is alive and doesn't have tokens on it, your opponent gets 15 points. And my perspective on that is all ships are worth more than 15 points. So if I'm able to use those tokens on my ships to keep them alive, then giving my opponent 15 points and keeping my ship alive is well worth it. And if they kill the ship off, they don't get any points because the ship's no longer on the table. So burn through the tokens as fast as possible. So here is the end of turn 1. As you can see, most of like Ken's Gazantes weren't able to make it past speed 3 or distance 3 of the edge. My transports weren't able to, and my CR90. So right there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the ships that are in the game already with no tokens on them. And then we have this brawling line set up. So the CR90 is here to try to dash across and do damage and survive. The Architens are moving into position that whatever moves toward them, they're able to hit. But I've kept my CR90 in only the front arc of the Architens. So with Kraken, there's actually no shot because out of the front, there's only a red dice. So it's completely safe just living around here as long as I can arc dodge with it. Demo's coming in, and the way the demo's positioned and where my ships are positioned, there's really no good place for it to go, because it'll either be in the front of all my ships or in the side of all my ships. And then my assault frigate's plan is to jump here and try to block in the interdictor so it has nowhere to go, so the MC-30s can hit it and then run away. So as you can see, a lot has happened in this turn. Demo came in, did a good chunk of damage against, I believe it was Admo, because Admo's better to attack than Foresight. And then the MC-30s were able to shoot into it and take it out at close range. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the game, my blue dice ended up converting which H9s to block redirects, and then all that damage just into the side without anywhere to go overwhelmed the brace, and was able to just eke it out, and then, ram damage added in to keep it alive. And then I'm able to go speed 3 and ram bounce against the interdictor or the flotilla to keep me right here, which is right where I kind of want to be to pin this ship down. I believe I've also have arc dodge decently with the CR90, and it's going to be coming in range to just drop that long distance damage into the interdictor later on with red dice, because it can't be obstructed because of Jaina's Light, and then targeting Scrambler doesn't work on the interdictor at farther than close range. So now it's the game of, can my assault frigate stay alive to all these Architens and the interdictor long enough for me to kill the interdictor? So it's just like this back and forth on that. Next turn, things have barely moved because that's kind of the plan. Like, we're in this brawl right here, and you have these Architens now that are pretty far out. My ships are spiraling here and then plan on going down the length of the table or chasing after Cazares. Well, his Architens are going to land over here. And we have lots of damage on the interdictor. It looks like 2 cards on my assault frigate, a couple cards on my MC-30s because of ramming and close range damage. The MC-30s are very good at surviving like maybe 2 good attacks, and then they got to get out of there because they don't have the hull to ram and stay where they're at. And after that, the interdictor goes down, and all of my ships are now moving over here, and the Architens are moving over here, so we can just pretty much call the game. I believe we technically play it out until turn 6 because this MC-30 is able to chase down this Gazanti and ram it to death, because speed 4 versus the speed 3, with the nav, I'll always be able to land on it, even if Ken moves it first. And I can make sure Ken moves it first at this point because I have more ships. So that ends the game. And basically all of my ships that don't have tokens anymore gave Ken points, so that's 45 points on victory tokens for Ken. I killed the interdictor, gladiator, and the Gazantes for 267, and then one of Ken's Architens didn't have a token after taking a lot of fire. We'll get to the damage in just a moment. And so like 282 for a 9-2. So it was pretty bloody. Where is it? Here. This is what my ships ended like. You have Admo that had only 1 health left, so it almost went down. My Corvette that had 1 shield and 3 hull left, so it almost went down. This MC-30 was fine. This was just the ram damage to keep it where I wanted. And my flagship was able to regenerate all of its shields back up after attacks, but it had half hull. So that was very injured. And then on Ken's front, Piet, he went down. The Gladiator punched through the side. And then this Architen survived on 1 hull with no shields because the advanced projectors were able to mitigate the damage that I could throw at it at long range pretty well. And like Ken was able to keep himself, if you saw like where the obstacles were on the one side, like if he's already shooting me obstructed, he might as well put himself obstructed to protect his ship. So like I couldn't do enough damage through obstruction and all of his defense tokens and fleet and beam and advanced projectors to take it out. So that's pretty much the summary of that game. We both crashed into the middle, kept each other from moving, which was both of our goals, and then just shot each other to pieces and hope that we came out on the other side. So it was a fun match. So if you guys have any comments or concerns or want to talk about anything, hit me up in the comments, and I'm going to check those out now and see what's down there. How about Fleet and Bean in a Squadron Heavy Republic? I like it, and the reasons for that is, so let's talk about how you would formulate a Squadron Heavy Republic. More than likely you have a Venator, right? And if you're doing squadrons, you probably have a Ven 2, and on there for your defensive retrofit, you probably have the thermal shields. So what you could do with that is you could thermal shields like 4 attacks in a turn because you have 3 tokens to refresh that brace. and then you have your squadrons, and then probably like, 2 Peltas or something like that. So it would work well to keep those ships alive. And then like Peltas are also super, super tanky, and they would get 2 tokens to refresh. So that means in a turn you can use your brace like 3 times or your evade multiple times. So I think it would be pretty good. And then your fighters can move across and do the damage, and you just use the tokens to use like thermal shields every single attack. So that's how I would use a Republic Squadron Heavy list. What are you using to show the ship details after the battle? Those are custom things that Ken and I make for our matches and our videos. So it's not available to the public, and not really even a program to do it. We make each one of them individually. So I think our next match, before I quote what I'm going to be doing in our next match, let me just double check this. I think we're going to have one of our classic type of matchups that we like doing. I think it's going to be another Tarkin off. It's going to be Gar Tarkin versus Imperial Tarkin. And this is actually a really good match for both of us. We have some really cool ships and ideas that we put into it to try to utilize the tokens the best as possible. Ventu, 2 Peltas, and auxiliary teams, and a bunch of Y-Wings. Yeah, I would use it then exactly how I was describing it. For the Fleet and Bean. And like most of the time then you can use like precision strike for your fighters. For let me pull up. For your red objective, precision strike, because then your bombers can gain you tokens. And then for blue you do superior position, so if your bombers can get behind the ships, they just obliterate them. And I mean, Peltas aren't going to get behind anything unless they allow you to. So those are your blue and your red, and then for your yellow you take Fleet and Bean, and more than likely they take Fleet and Bean so you don't farm them to death, but then it makes your ships nearly impossible to kill. Appreciate the breakdown. I'm fairly new and just learning. Great to pick up thoughts on strategy. Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why we do Backseat Admiral, is so then we can talk more about the individual like overall strategy from the videos that we do for you guys, because it's actually hard to talk detailed strategy inside the video, because then it adds like an extra hour to the video, which we don't need videos that are like 3 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours long. No one wants to sit down to do that. But if you want the extra bits, and you can come watch the command stack. Do you have any questions being a new player? Let me know and I'll help point you in the right direction. But back to the Republic Fleet and Bean. Yeah, with the Venator then, like, you get hit and then you just keep refreshing your brace and thermal shielding it. So like against, if you're doing this like competitively against some archetypes that are out there, let's just look at double onager. So the first onager hits you at long range, so that's 4 red dice. Probably a Ramadi dice is going to be added in, plus con fire, so you can, if the token's closer, you can eliminate all of the black dice every single shot with that. And you can do that then for 2-3 turns of that, because turn 1 you probably are only going to be hit by a cataclysm, so you get rid of half the dice. Boom, next turn you get hit by 2 onagers. First attack you thermal shields it, and now you only have red dice. Second time you do it, you do red dice with the token, and then you still have 2 tokens. So you can do that then almost every single turn of the game while your fighters close it in on them to kill them. So that's how I would use it. Now back to list building. Is that what you're focusing on? Is your Pelta, 2 Pelta Ventu? It's a really good archetype. I know that people have seen success in the last Worlds with not 2 peltas, but instead you add in a, what's it called? One of their corvettes to give it a little bit of speed, and then use Mercy Mission. And then you just keep that ship off to the side and fly it into the end zone at the end of the game to score like 40 points, which is ridiculous if you can keep it alive. So take that into consideration too. With Event 2, though, you're going to probably need to add the flag bridge onto it, but like the ability to add that in Mercy Mission is very, very good. And then Fleet and Bean, like, who really wants to go against a Y-Wing swarm with Precision Strike? That just hurts. Yeah, the C-90. And then superior positions, like, I get to see everything where you are, and then anything you move toward me, I'm just gonna bomb you to death in the butt with Y-Wings for points at every single time they get a hit. Also really, really hurts. Like, you can, like, the Y-Wing swarm balls, because you usually are like, 8-ish to 10 Y-Wings. If you can get 50% of those off, that's like 15 points per, so you're talking 60 points per turn. You can score more against someone with that than a lot of things. And then people like are like looking at it and you're like, you're gonna kill me anyway, so how can I let my ship die fast enough before you just completely farm me for points? So it's a brutal objective set to go against, and then you pick Fleet and Bean, and then makes the ships impossible to kill. So let me see if I can find that preview picture I started talking about. Oh, and you have Plo Koon? Yeah, so that means if you're able to get those bombers into the back of those ships, then you just eat right through it, because they can't, you just block the evade or redirect, and you just Plo Koon it. Trying to pull up a preview picture for you guys of our next battle. And here we go. Okay, so here's the preview picture for our next battle. It's going to be an Admiral Tarkin with a bunch of fighters against a Grand Moff Tarkin with a bunch of fighters. And both of us have, like, I have the ISD as my combat ship and the Cazares as my squad pusher, and Ken has a Victory Spat combat ship with an Acclimator squad pusher. So, and then also a Pelta to keep it alive. The Pelta is way better than, my silly little Gazanti that I have here in a 1-to-1 comparison, but like similar fleet archetypes with the similar commanders. And then we see, which one of them is better. Do we have a better Admiral, or is it better Grand Moff? So the question is up to you guys. So you will be seeing that in 2 weeks. Roughly this week, we're going to be having another Shatterpoint episode, which Ken and I have been having a lot of fun playing. So hopefully you guys have also been checking that out. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Happy 4th of July for all of those in the States. And thank you very much for coming and joining me. The next time we do a Backseat Admiral for that episode, the Grand Moff Tarkinoff, that's going to be the episode that we're going to be announcing our winner for this segment of our giveaway. We're giving out another packet of the Sema All Things. So you just have to comment on our videos with our tag. I believe we're using hashtag Suma again. for this giveaway. So I think there's episodes 4, 5, 6. If you go comment on them, you'll be entered into our drawing. So we'll be drawing that next time I do a backseat on the next episode. So hopefully everyone has a great day. Until next time, I'm John, and you've been watching Ion Radio and the Backseat Admiral.